You are not losing because you are not smart enough. You are losing because you are playing the game with the wrong kind of intelligence. Look at the world carefully. The ones at the top are not the most moral, not the most talented, not even the most disciplined. And yet, they move people like pieces. They bend situations without force. They win before the game even starts. So what do they know that you don't? You were taught that intelligence is about solving problems, memorizing information, being logical. That was never meant to make you powerful. That was meant to make you useful, predictable, replaceable. Machiavelli understood something most people are too uncomfortable to accept. The world is not governed by how people should behave, but by how they actually behave when no one is watching. And that gap is where you've been getting destroyed. You tried to be honest. You tried to be liked. You tried to be understood. And in return, you got overlooked, outmaneuvered, and quietly replaced by people who play a different game entirely. This is where the escalation begins, because what you're about to understand is not self-improvement. This is psychological repositioning, a shift from reacting to reading, from seeking approval to controlling perception, from being part of the game to seeing the board. But understand this clearly. This comes with a cost. Once you see the patterns, the micro-expressions, the hidden incentives behind every word, you cannot unsee them. You will start noticing the subtle manipulations in conversations, the silent power plays in rooms, the weaknesses in people you once trusted, and worst of all, the weakness in yourself. And if you are not ready to confront that, leave now, because this is not about becoming a better person. This is about becoming a harder one, a more precise one, a more dangerous one. Let's begin the surgery. Law 1. The weaponization of silence. Most people are terrified of silence. Not because silence is empty, but because it forces them to face what they are without distraction. So they talk. They over-explain. They justify. They leak fragments of their mind just to feel seen. And in doing so, they expose themselves. Here is the part they never understand. Every word you speak is a transaction. You are either gaining leverage or losing it. Machiavelli knew this. The one who speaks less is not passive. He is calculating. He is collecting. While others are spending information to buy approval, he is accumulating it to build control. Now we go deeper. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is pressure. When you stop filling the space, other people feel it. And most cannot handle it. Their discomfort forces them to reveal more than they should. Their tone shifts. Their posture breaks. Their intentions leak through the cracks. And without realizing it, they hand you the blueprint of how to move against them. This is where you separate from the average mind. You stop explaining your decisions. You stop defending your position. You speak only when it creates impact. Everything else, you absorb, become unreadable. Because the moment people cannot predict you, they cannot control you. Silence is not weakness. Silence is the first form of dominance. Law 2. The death of moral illusion. This is where most people break. You have been conditioned to see the world through a child's lens, right or wrong, fair or unfair, good or bad. And that conditioning feels comforting until reality violates it. And it always does. You get betrayed, and your first instinct is outrage. You get overlooked, and your first instinct is self-doubt. Because deep down, you believe things should have gone differently. But Machiavelli saw through this illusion centuries ago. The world does not reward fairness. It rewards effectiveness. Now we go deeper. When a predator hunts, it is not evil. When a storm destroys, it is not unjust. And when someone uses you, outplays you, or discards you, it is not personal. It is strategic. Your mistake is moralizing a mechanical system. Dark intelligence forces you to detach from that emotional filter. You stop asking, "Why would they do this to me?" And you start asking, "What does this reveal? And how do I use it?" Offense is a liability. Emotion, clouds, pattern, recognition. You don't need to become immoral. You need to become unblinded. Because the moment you see behavior as strategy, you stop being the victim of it. Law 3, the controlled flaw. Perfection is not power, it is a threat signal. When you appear too sharp, too composed, too untouchable, you don't inspire respect. You trigger something far more dangerous: envy, suspicion, the quiet urge in others to see you fall, just to prove that you are not above them. This is where amateurs make the mistake. They think dominance means showing no weakness. So they build this rigid, flawless persona, cold, distant, unreadable, and in doing so, they paint a target on their own back. Now we go deeper. Humans do not bond with perfection. They bond with imperfection, with flaws, with cracks that make you feel real, accessible, safe. Dark intelligence understands this and exploits it with precision. You do not remove your weaknesses. You curate them. You reveal something small, controlled, harmless, a minor insecurity, a past mistake, a limitation that does not cost you power. And the moment you do, something shifts. People relax. They lower their guard. They stop seeing you as a threat and start seeing you as one of them. But that perception is engineered. While they connect with your surface-level flaw, your real intentions remain sealed. Your actual vulnerabilities stay hidden, untouched, invisible. This is not honesty. This is design. You are managing how people perceive your depth by choosing what they are allowed to see. Never expose your core. Never reveal the full structure. Just enough imperfection to disarm them. Just enough humanity to make them trust you. Because a person who feels safe around you is already easier to control. Law 4. The mirror trap. Once someone feels safe around you, they stop analyzing you. That is the opening. Because the moment you are no longer seen as a threat, you are no longer being evaluated. You are being accepted. And acceptance is where influence begins. Now we go deeper. Most people walk into a room trying to impress, trying to stand out, trying to prove they are different. But this reveals a fundamental misunderstanding. People are not interested in you. They are interested in themselves. So instead of competing for attention, you redirect it. You become a mirror. You match their tone. You reflect their energy. You echo their worldview. And something subtle happens. They stop seeing you as a separate individual and start seeing themselves inside you. That is the trap. Because people trust what feels familiar. They like what reflects them. They open up to what understands them. But what they don't realize is this. While they are bonding, you are mapping their fears, their desires, their insecurities. Every reaction becomes data. Every word becomes leverage. The mirror does not speak to be known. It reflects to gain control. And by the time they feel connected to you, you already know exactly how to move them. Law 5. The power of detachment. This is where control stops being external and becomes internal. Most people lose before the game even begins, not because they lack skill, but because they care too much about the outcome. They need the job. They need the approval. They need the relationship to work. And that need leaks. It shows in their tone, their timing, their decisions. A subtle desperation that others can feel but will never name. Now we go deeper. Attachment is not passion. It is dependency. And dependency destroys leverage. The moment someone senses you cannot walk away, they stop respecting you. They start managing you. Machiavelli understood this clearly. The fear of loss is the fastest way to lose power, because fear makes you negotiate against yourself. It makes you tolerate disrespect. It makes you accept less than you should. So the shift is brutal but necessary. You train yourself to accept the worst outcome before it happens. Lose the deal. Lose the person. Lose the opportunity. Sit with it. Digest it. Neutralize it. Because once the worst-case scenario no longer controls your behavior, you become unpredictable. And that is where power begins. You speak without hesitation. You act without fear. You walk away without regret. Detachment is not indifference. It is freedom from needing a specific result. And the one who needs nothing is the one no one can control. Law 6. The useful enemy. Most people crave peace. They want to be liked, accepted, undisturbed. So they avoid conflict at all costs. And in doing so, they become soft. Because without pressure, there is no sharpening. Without resistance, there is no growth. You don't evolve in comfort, you decay in it. Now we go deeper. An enemy is not a problem. An enemy is a tool. They force you to focus. They expose your weaknesses. They remove your illusions about where you actually stand. Machiavelli advised that a ruler must study war even in times of peace. Because conflict is not an interruption of life, it is the structure beneath it. The average mind reacts emotionally to opposition. It complains. It withdraws. It plays the victim. But the strategic mind extracts value. You use their doubt as fuel. You use their resistance as direction. You use their presence as a constant reminder that stagnation is not an option. And there is a deeper layer most never reach. A shared enemy creates unity faster than shared love ever could. If you want to build influence, identify a threat. Because nothing aligns people more efficiently than something they all fear. Law 7. The death of authenticity. You have been told your entire life to just be yourself. And that advice has cost you more than you realize. Because yourself is inconsistent, emotional, context, blind. You are not one person. You are a collection of versions shifting depending on who you are with, what is at stake, and what the environment demands. Now we go deeper. The idea of authenticity is comforting, but it is also limiting. It gives you permission to stay uncontrolled, to justify reactions, to protect habits that sabotage your position. I'm just being honest. I'm just being real. No, you are being predictable. And predictable people are easy to manage. Machiavelli understood this. The powerful are not rigid. They are adaptive. They know when to be the lion and when to be the fox. Force when needed. Deception when required. So you stop treating your personality as identity and start treating it as a tool. In one room, you are calm and precise. In another, you are warm and disarming. In another, you are silent and unreadable. Not fake, strategic. Because the one who can control how they appear controls how they are treated. Law 8. The calculated suspicion. Naivety does not come from stupidity. It comes from projection. You assume others think like you, that they value honesty because you do, that they wouldn't deceive you because you wouldn't do the same. And that assumption is where you get blindsided. Now we go deeper. Dark intelligence starts with a simple truth. Everyone acts in their own interest. Even kindness has a motive. Even loyalty has conditions. Even generosity often expects a return. This is not cynicism. This is clarity. The average person listens to words. The strategic mind watches behavior. Because words are crafted to influence, actions are constrained by reality. So you stop asking, do I trust them? And you start asking, what are they incentivized to do? When someone offers you an opportunity, what do they gain? When someone praises you excessively, what are they distracting you from? You verify patterns. You test boundaries. You give small trust before large exposure. Not paranoid, precise. Because betrayal never comes from strangers. It comes from people you assumed were safe. And the one who observes before believing is the one who rarely gets caught off guard. Law 9. The integration of the shadow. This is where most people stop, because everything up to this point is strategy, technique, control. But this is confrontation. You have been taught to be harmless, to suppress anger, to deny your desire for power, dominance, control, to be good. But here is the truth most people will never accept. A harmless person is not virtuous. A harmless person is simply incapable. Now we go deeper. If you do not acknowledge your capacity for manipulation, you will never see it in others. If you deny your ability to be ruthless, you will always be vulnerable to those who aren't. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the part of you refuse to face. And what you repress does not disappear. It leaks through passive aggression, through resentment, through self-sabotage, or worse, it gets activated unconsciously without your control. Dark intelligence requires something far more difficult than being good. It requires awareness of your darkness. You look at it directly. You admit what you are capable of. And then you take control of it, not to become destructive, but to become precise. Because when you know you can destroy, but choose not to, that is power. That is restraint with teeth. Machiavelli never trusted saints. He trusted those who understood both sides of human nature and could navigate between them. When you integrate your shadow, you stop fearing the darkness in others because you recognize it. And, more importantly, you are no longer controlled by your own. Now you see it, not perfectly, but enough. Enough to realize that the world you thought you understood was never designed for you to win. It was designed for you to stay predictable. And from this moment on, something shifts. You will start noticing what others ignore. Who speaks to impress, and who speaks to control. Who reacts, and who calculates. Who is playing the game, and who is being played. But the deeper shift is this. You will start noticing yourself. The moments you seek validation, the moments you hesitate, the moments you give away power just to be accepted. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. Now comes the part most people won't admit. This path separates you, not because you become better, but because you stop pretending. People will feel it. They will say you've changed, that you're colder, quieter, different. Let them. You are no longer operating at the same level of awareness. So here is the only question that matters. Do you go back? Back to comfort? Back to being liked? Back to being predictable? Or do you move forward? Into clarity? Into control? Into a version of yourself that most people will never understand? Because you don't get both. You don't get to be fully aware and fully accepted. If you made it this far, you already know which direction you're leaning. So don't just watch this. Apply it. And if this shifted something in the way you see the world, pay attention. Because from this point on, you either apply this or you forget it. Most people will ignore this. You won't. I'll see you where most people are afraid to look.